Welcome, Tactical Technician Diagnation here. Tonight's video we're going to talk about the Wyze probe right here. Basically it's a kind of a cop wand. This one's an extra long one, it's 24 inches, and it's going to be a two-part video. The first part we're going to talk about just using it on one channel on ignition secondary. I'm just going to be touching the ignition coil, and I'm going to see how good a pattern we get, and a little trick to getting a better pattern than we usually get with this kind of tool. They have a few different kinds of this. I know Pico makes a blue one that's sort of plastic, and it flexes. I heard stories the European government didn't want technicians using metal in engine compartments, but nonetheless this one does have a metal tip. It is by no means an illegal tool. It's a good tool. Extra length allows you to get on coils like on vans and trucks that where accessibility is not that good, and we're going to work to get a fairly decent secondary pattern. Usually sometimes these patterns are jumpy and ugly and they're not as crisp and clean as we're used to seeing, but nonetheless, when they get to the scope, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to set the time up and jack the sampling up to see what kind of secondary pattern we're going to get. I will change the fuel mixture in the cylinder. I'm on cylinder 4. I will do something, I will lean the cylinder out, we'll watch the spark line, see what it does, to see how good the granularity is as we use this tool just to do true ignition secondary diagnosis. The second part of the video, I'm going to move this probe onto the side of a fuel injector just to use the injector as a trigger while I'm current ramping all the other injectors on another channel. So if you ever had a situation where we wanted to, instead of having a back probe, an injector wire in a tough location, I'm just gonna put it to the side of the injector, and you'll see the pattern on the scope. It looks fairly decent. We're not using it for the diagnostic value of the injector. We're just using it as a trigger to reference all the injectors once we know the firing order, as we're using the channel with the current ramp to diagnose the injectors. But nonetheless, I will go to the scope and turn the car on, and hopefully I can get a good I'll get onto the scope. Okay, here we go. That's a frozen capture, but nonetheless, I will start the car, and we will see. First of all, I'll tell you how my setup is. I'm going to kind of start from scratch. I'm going to turn the scope on, and get rid of the trigger, and go to auto. So now we just got a flat line. So basically with this tool, I'm not going to tell the scope I'm using any kind of capacitive wand or ignition secondary, inverted, or positive, any of that. I'm just using, I'm going to AC couple it. That's the key. I noticed that it makes it that much better. AC couple and 50 millivolts and a pretty good sampling rate. I'm at about 6 mega samples. I will set a trigger for the channel. I'll start the scope, but then I'll set the trigger after that. So I'm going to start the car. And let's set the trigger while we're on the run so we can kind of lock in on it. Okay, there we're jumping across the screen. It's undesirable. We want to set a trigger, so we go to trigger. We go, the type of trigger is going to be repeat. That's on A, so we're going to get the yellow diamond on the firing line. Now we're looking pretty good. We can see I'm going to stop the scope. It does jump out of there every now and then. Doesn't mean there's a problem with the car. So I'll stop it and roll back and we'll look at some screens. And we got a pretty good, yeah, there's a good one. We got a burn time here. I'll measure the burn time. We shoot for a little over a millisecond. So our burn time is about about 1.1 milliseconds right there, which is pretty good. We got good coil oscillations. We got down, up, down, up, down, up. We got a good break-off point. We can't measure the kilovolts, but we know that we're fairly low with this technology. But the key is the spark line. We got a good spark line, and I will continue to. I'm going to get this. I'm going to kind of put some load on the engine, and we'll kind of watch it more dynamically, and we can see. Let's kind of stop it. I'll stop that. We'll take a look at that. Going back. Okay, we got some turbulence in the cylinder, which is some of it's expected. We won't be too smooth. But nonetheless, we're looking like we got a burn time. I am no ignition guru, but this is what I learned from all the other gurus that I've tried to pick their brain over the years. But nonetheless, we're looking pretty good. If a coil were breaking down, this thing would shrivel up and shrink right up. I'm going to start, back it up. I'm going to affect the mixture in the cylinder. So now we're going down the road, and every now and then you'll see me lean this thing out, and we'll see what happens when I lean it out. Okay. Okay. Taking fuel away from that cylinder. You can see what happens. And I'm going to stop the scope. Okay. And I'll stop the car, and we'll kind of analyze it, and then we'll get to the next part of the video. So we'll see. Right now, we can say we got a pretty good spark line. And I go here, and this is where we'll see when it was lean and when it wasn't lean. We can actually tell once we see the roll it back. Oh, maybe I missed it. Okay, that's lean. You can see we're kind of start to move up. We definitely kind of, at the end of we run out of fuel and it starts to go up. That's definitely an indication of we're lean. Let me see if I can get a more pronounced one. Right there. There's a real pronounced one. Okay, that's lean right there. Starting to move up. We're running out of fuel. There's so much else you can see in secondary waveforms, and nonetheless, but the reason for this video is that to know the cop wand is more than just a trigger. It has, if we use it, I think if we AC couple it, we jack our sample rate up, and we got the right scope, it has good diagnostic value because it's real easy. It's unintrusive, and being that one's 24 inches long, it's going to be easy to get to those hard to reach coils that are under the manifold or on a van. We got to snake past a doghouse or something if we got to make a diagnosis. Okay, on to the second part of the video. I will get this out. I will put the injectors on channel B. I'm going to current ramp them. I'm going to go to 30 amps. We're looking at injectors, so I want to get I don't want to get higher than 2. Oh, no, I didn't tell that right. Come on. I want the 30 amp clamp, which I have on there. 30 amp clamp. And I want to go to 2 amps. And then I want to get rid of the trigger. And we'll go to none. We want to get the sample rate down so we can use more screens that way. We don't need such a sample rate. I want to go to 100. I'm going to start the let me go out and set things up, and then I'll start it up. Just give me a second. All right, I'm gonna start the car. We're gonna see the current. Okay, you got the current ramp. I'm gonna kind of widen this up. You'll see me. I'm gonna have to go out and maybe I'll trigger red just to make it more stable to see, because I'm gonna be out in the engine compartment. So you're gonna be watching the. Oh man. Okay. Repeat on B. Okay, there we go. So fairly still, get out of there. Snooze, I'll be snoozing soon. Okay, so we're looking at what do we got going on here? We got singles. See, that made a mistake. I want to go repeat. That does happen when we're scoping. So now we got to keep it going. Now we're running. We got a little more. Get another event there. To 50 milliseconds. Okay, that's our injectors. Now watch the blue channel, because I'm gonna, if I had a situation where I was diagnosing these injectors, if one of them was shorted or something, let me freeze this and kind of zoom in on this. If I was looking for an open, or one was highly resistive, or it had too little resistance and was shorted, and I wanted to figure out which one, the Wyze probe is going to help us, because I'm going to put that little J end of it right at the barrel of the fuel injector, and you'll start to see the when I get there, you should start to see on blue what looks like an injector pattern. So that's when we're going to identify our cylinders. Let me go out there and I'll run a little bit. And give me about 20 seconds, and so I can get the Wyze probe to the side of the fuel injector. See how well as far as the capture I got. Let's stop the scope and go back and see if you saw our blue trigger. If not, then I'll do it again. Okay. No, you did not see. Oh, no, you did. Okay, there you did. Okay. It's a little tricky because I got to, okay, now you got a good look at it. So that's basically, you know, if you're on the car diagnosing in the bay, you'd be looking at the vehicle and not running a video. So now that's our trigger. And now we can see, we can know what that's triggered on, I was on injector 1. So we know our firing order 1, 3, 4, 2. So now we know what injector is, which one we'd be going to diagnose further to see if we had a problem. But basically, that's the advantage of that Wyze probe is, you know, you don't have to poke wires. You pretty much know the location of the cylinder, and you can reach under plenums and through you know, difficult to reach locations to set that trigger up right there. And yeah, it does have some diagnostic value. If we open it up, you know, they can see that's the on time. Probably not as good as we were hardwired to the injector, but nonetheless, it does have that quick advantage because we don't have to poke into wires, and we can use that probe. Thank you very much for watching.